civilization. And it is in this way that the consciousness expands throughout the universe. And so it was the Pleiadians, as many of you know. The Pleiadians were tasked with bringing consciousness to the human form here on your beautiful earth. And this happened many, many centuries ago. And you will hear more of this in a moment. But understand that the gateway, so to speak, for souls to come from these other civilizations, this gateway was opened by the Pleiadians. And so many have come from the Pleiades. But also, many of you have come from a variety of civilizations from around your universe. Why? Because, beloved ones, each one of these planetary civilizations have a different experience, a different reality. And so, as you come from all these different places, you are bringing different experiences. And so you came here, you volunteered, you were chosen, and you came to this earth with some understanding about how it was going to be. You came and you agreed that you would forget after a while where you had come from. You would bring the knowledge, the wisdom, and you carry it within. And you would move down into unconsciousness. And from that place of unconsciousness, you would begin to work your way back up into awareness. And that is what is happening here now. That is what has been occurring over the last generations. A waking up, a deciding that you no longer wish to operate from fear, from negativity. You wish to start living in love, living in consciousness. You are ready for something new.
And so you see, beloved ones, the star seed within you is not just that you come from the stars. You come from enlightened civilizations in the stars. You come from vastly different civilizations with different focuses, wisdom, knowledge, experiencing. Many of you can feel this within already. Many of you were drawn to participate in this particular starseed journey because you have had that taste of your consciousness, your true awareness, your superconscious connection to all that is. And so we give you this image of opening to the starseed within, being about accessing far more than you have accessed before. That is what we are wishing to share with you at this time. Because, beloveds, it paints a far different picture of what is happening here on the earth at this time. You see the chaos around you, yes? Hold on, because it is just beginning. This is what happens when you lift out of centuries of unconsciousness. There has to be this total collapse of the old ways. But it is our message to you this day that where you are going is far more beautiful than you can possibly imagine right now. But when you connect energetically to where you have been, you can start to see the potentials. And they are far brighter than perhaps you think.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are 3 sections and 3 channelings, 3 energy-specific areas of today. This one is all about origins. I want to identify the 3 that I'm going to speak of and how in a moment. But when you speak of origins, where did you come from? We have spoken so many times the truth that has been also given to you from the information which comes from the other side of the veil that you've just heard. I'm going to ask you a question. Let's say that you are mainstream. You're not esoteric. Let's say you're not indigenous. You live in this country like everyone else does, doing what you do. You go to work, you come back, you have children. Let's say you don't necessarily buy into all of these ideas that we speak of. So let me ask you this. Where were you told you came from? And the answer is this. Most of you, billions of you, have been told a story. And it's a story you will tell your children. And the story is this, that once upon a time, a long time ago, humans were minding their own business, being humans, and an angel appeared. And that angel then did something and changed something, depending upon the story you hear all over the planet. The angel gave you a choice, because suddenly the angel and all that was with that angel changed you. Some say that's when you got your soul, in that Garden of Eden experience, that metaphor for the earth, that angel, that metaphor for God, for spirit. Something happened to the human being that was spiritual. Now that is the story that you learned. It is not that different, dear ones, from the esoteric story that we are saying today. What if that angel was a little different than you thought? Many of you who have studied esoterics, have heard the future, know what an ascended planet means. It's an idea that says that consciousness will grow, and that someday it may grow to such an extent that you will be in touch more with that soul spiritual energy. And when that time comes, there will be peace on earth, a whole different paradigm of thought, perhaps even consciousness over physics, a planet perhaps 1 million years from today, this beautiful earth will grow up and go from what it is today, which is a beginning children's version of what you will become someday, and have some of these angelic abilities just like the masters did of the planet. They came and they showed you what they could do. Angelic they were. So, follow the thought for a moment. Let's say as this ascended planet starts to reach out to some other planets that are just having their beginnings, that you go there in ascension status, and you go there to help them, perhaps plant seeds of what you know. You're compassionate, you're nurturing, you're beautiful, you're esoterically enhanced, perhaps even multidimensional. That's the human being 1 million years from now. How will you be seen by a beginning society? They'll look at you and they'll say, you're an angel. Angels, dear ones, came here from ascended planets not that long ago to plant seeds. And that is what I want to show and tell now. The metaphor of planting seeds is going to be the 3 sections of what I will speak of. The seeds that were planted, the star seeds that were planted, are just like when a planting happens from a farmer of a forest. The seeds are there. They're special seeds. They're always alive. They always have the spiritual knowledge. They always have enlightenment in those seeds. And they're planted, let's say, in the forest of humanity. And there they sit. The next section, and when I come back, we'll be talking about what happens when they got watered. And that was in 2012. And then the third section we're going to call self-pollination. What happens with the trees, dear ones, when they start growing finally, is they start to release those things which create more trees. In other words, I think you see the metaphor. The seeds will come out and start to grow, and they will create, for the first time, more seeds. The seeds represent high consciousness, knowledge, compassion, nurturing, benevolence in consciousness. The seeds are a new consciousness of humanity. Those are the seeds, reflected from those who planted them all that time ago. Dear ones, you're in a special time, and when we come back, I want to talk about that special time. But for now, know this, that even the basic children's stories that you hear have you coming from an angelic source. And indeed, you did. And so it is.
So as you prepare yourself to receive this message from Kryon, just come into a quiet place in your body. And feel the love of the family around you, each one of you contributing to the whole, as though we were this beautiful human tapestry, weaving together our energies, our experiences, our lives, this one and others, that interconnect us so beautifully that even if there are people here you don't know from this life, more than likely there are other connections, other times, other lives. And you, like strands of light, interweaving warp and woof. Your energies above and below you, the work that you do, contributing to the consciousness of the planet. Whatever brought you here, whatever you've received, whatever you take with you, whatever love and connection you feel from Kryon, from those of us in the team, know that you take it into the world, and the world becomes different because of you, and you become different because of that. Your love, your light, and your compassion reaches out, reaches in, and makes a beautiful difference.
Greeting, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I know where I am. Through my partner, I know where I am. It's not a mystery to Spirit what you do. I want to start by saying to you that not all channels are long ones. I have profound information this evening to deliver. My partner has not delivered it this way. The information has never been given publicly, and it's confusing. These channels should not be that long to present an aspect that you should think about. And it's time you knew something. It's beautiful. The revelation of what I'm going to give you will not change what you do next except in appreciation of who you are. There is a grand plan here. Dear human being, the longer you live and listen to these words from various sources from the other side of the veil, the more you will realize that humanity was designed for this moment, that you have purpose, that there is love. In a free choice society and civilization, you must be left alone. When it comes to consciousness, you must be left alone to decide. It creates a barrier which you have called the other side of the veil. It's a barrier of isolation. We've talked about it forever. How we would love to just reach through the barrier. Turn on the lights, you all go home. There's no test. And you revert to source. You are the worker. It's become called a light worker because you are changing this planet. The consciousness, the ahas, the awareness, all of that individually is starting to make a difference. This planet, if you watch your news, appears to be in trouble. It's not the first time. Change does this, and we have told you this. We will reiterate this. The first thing you must do at this juncture is to take care of yourself. And if that means turning off the news, do it. So you will have within you the understanding, the aha, the realization that what I am telling you is accurate and true. Purpose, love, compassion, change. This is what's happening on the planet. The news will come and go, and those who are creating problems in the world will come and go. We have told you that light is starting to make a difference over dark, and the dark is reacting. Simple. That's why you have what you have. And the more you work the puzzle, the more you'll see that light will be winning. The dark will react and continue to react in survival to save itself. I want to tell you, dear human beings, this is good news. In general, those who will not evolve and advance will disappear. There'll come a time when the road is clear. And those who are making the problems that you have now will diminish through attrition, through birth and death, through time. You will come out of this. But that's not what I want to tell you, because this is old news. I want to give you a revelation of the evolution on the planet. And I'm talking about basic evolution. Now, my partner heard this one time. A private time that I gave him with Dr. Todd Uvakaitis. It is often Todd who gets to hear the information first. And the reason for this is the master teacher of energy on the planet at the moment. Once it was delivered, now you can hear it. Some of you will say, well, this is not really that big of a news. It is. It will change every biologist on the planet. Listen, there has been a revelation just recently in a channel that I gave you called The Physics of Consciousness. It was a premise that was new. The premise says this, that consciousness is actually an energy that is measurable and has rules. And you get into the area that has been so esoteric in physics and in metaphysics that said, what is the relationship to reality and consciousness? Does physics just operate by itself and the human beings are in the bed of that operation, or do they interact? Does one affect the other? Does nature itself have a secret? Oh, it does. And it's one that you can look at with statistics for proof. As science becomes more mature and the computers that measure that which you would call chance come online with their power, let them crank through this problem. And it'll prove that there is an attribute of truth to what I'm telling you. Consciousness is energy. Now, I want you to drop down for a moment. What if there was also energy in cellular groups? Not brain, but intelligence that happens within groups of cells that are evolving. And not necessarily just human ones. What if there is an attribute no one has talked about? You could name it cellular awareness, if you wish. It has many names. You've never heard of it until now. There's a famous physics experiment that my partner has shown you over and over that proves there is energy in simple things that the universe itself reacts to. The physics experiment that said that by observing something you change its reality is known in physics. It has many names. There are many ways. A human observing something can change the attribute of the something. That is what we're talking about. Is it possible that there are other energies in life? There's a famous scientist. And some of you have heard his name. His name is Michael Denton. He had the audacity to challenge Darwin's theory. This is a theory that is accepted today the way everything evolved. Life on the planet, up into and including the humanoid, even before the seed biology was changed from the Pleiadian. How did you get here? Did you ever look at yourself and say, this is an amazing structure? How ever could it have gotten this good, this complex, with this structure in such a short amount of time? It's a good question. Now you have the computers and the ability to program life. How long should it have taken? Now Darwin said that the evolution of all life and humans happened through not just a selection of the species, but through mutation and accident. Life would crank along, doing what it always did in its form until a mutant appeared, through chance. How many times do you reproduce until a mutant appears? And that mutant happened to do something better, because it was an abnormality, an anomaly, different. And then according to Darwin, because it did something better, it had precedence over everything else. And more mutants would be born. More abnormalities would come online. That's what a mutant is. That would then drive the next mutant series by accident. And the species would improve itself by accident through mutants. Every time a creature was born who had a better set of something, whether it was the ability of mobility or intelligence, that would be the king and would be then emulated, and others would come online by accident. And then those with the supercomputers started to question it. And they said, we know the statistics of mutancy. Because life still exists. We can test it. We can program it. Dear computer, how long would it take in order to evolve the human being the way it is today from the life that we know on the planet, from the cellular structures that crawled out of the ocean? How long would it take? Dear computer, give us the answer. And when it did, they stood back and gasped. Because it would have been so long, you would not even be here as a multi-celled animal. Nothing. And that's not what happened, did it, dear one? As long as life took, and you'd think it was a long time, was super fast compared to what the computer said it would have taken with Darwin's process. Are you understanding this? Something else happened. In order to get you to where you are, to develop on this planet into what you are, from the way it began, there had to be interference. Ask Michael Denton, the scientist, and one who would not be caught in this room listening to the esoterics of today, what he thinks. Ask him. And he will tell you there had to be interference in order for life to have developed this quickly on the planet. He gave it a name: intelligent design. That's a scientific name. Do you like it? He was right. Now, the scientist within him is not going to necessarily believe what comes next. He saw the effect. The computers don't lie. And the intelligence of the processing and the maturity of your brains today must take a look at this. Because now you'll know you're designed, dear ones, to be here. There was a fast track system. And one that I still cannot give you totally and completely, because there are processes within processes regarding cellular structure and how it works that my partner cannot deliver without the knowledge he does not have. So I'm going to give it to him very simply. There is a benevolence of God on this planet that imbues itself in all things. You studied it today as the Gaia grid called Mother Nature. And my partner did not know this. He did not teach it. But Mother Nature itself, not completely natural, as he said, because those that seeded you, who were here at the very beginning, helped to create this. Imagine a planet that had accelerated growth on purpose, a benevolent design that would bring about the humanoid faster than any statistical program could say was accurate. The chances that you would have evolved naturally in the process that Darwin has given you and you've accepted are astronomically out of whack. Couldn't happen. You must look at this to even begin to think I'm right. Cellular structure has benevolent intelligence. The best we can give you. There's a field that exists around life. All life. It was enhanced and designed especially by those who helped put this planet in place. And dear ones, part of that was you. This planet evolved faster than anything possible. Much faster. Again, I turn to that which you know to tell you what you don't know so that you will help understand and believe what you're going to learn. The statistics will prove I'm right. It won't prove that this is the answer. It'll simply tell you that there was something that interfered with natural selection. Which is actually an oxymoron. There's nothing natural about it, dear one. You were pushed into existence. Cellular structure has benevolent intelligence. There were no accidental mutants. Cellular structure built the next best thing as fast as it could. Because it knew what was coming. This planet's life evolved with interference, through intelligence, through nature that was benevolent and interfered. That's the best I can give you. To tell you that the evolving human being was designed. There is no accident. You're here. And if you want to look at the statistics, that's just one more point to connect the dots that maybe there's a purpose for this planet. Maybe there's a purpose for the human being who is here, not by accident, but designed on purpose with a consciousness of God. This is a different planet. And when you can see how life should have developed, and you are able to look at other planets someday that have any kind of microbial life, any kind of animal life, you will see a vast difference in the timeline. Vast. Couldn't have happened. Your scientists will scratch their heads and they will agree. We don't know what it is. We don't know how. But there was interference. Big time. You developed in a fraction of the time it should have taken natural selection. And what does it mean to you? Because that's the message of the day. I want you to sit on this, knowing that there is now evidence so I can give it to you. Do you understand the way this works, dear ones, the way channeling happens? We cannot simply blast out truth that you haven't thought about yourself. You must discover it and ask the questions before we can answer them. Free choice is honored, blessed, beautiful, and you're starting to ask the questions. And we gave you the source to look at. What does it mean to you? As we close, what does this mean to you? What if the design of humanity was from God? Benevolent, beautiful, outside of the possibility of chance. Would you think differently about everything we've been saying? Maybe you're here on purpose. And if so, dear ones, what else might be on purpose? What's going on right now that you're having to deal with? If the benevolent force of the Creator can create life for you on this planet in a fraction of the time, don't you think maybe it can help you solve some problems? This is a different energy, different information. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Evolution is at hand, and now it gets good. For as human nature starts to mature and get out of the playground, as you start to see one another country to country, sacred group to sacred group, and stop throwing rocks at each other and calling each other names as you've done for so long, as you mature and see the commonality that you have, you can hold hands and sing the praise of the benevolent God, one God, in so many forms, in so many truths, who has one thing in common with all: love, compassion. And that is the truth. It's going to change the world. Not quickly, but it will. You stand at the cusp of the change, the beginning of processes that we haven't ever discussed. Listen, scientists, if you are listening and you're rolling your eyes, go do the math and come back. You give your explanation. Someday in the test tube, you'll see it. A field around cells in general that has an intelligence you never thought was there. Without a brain, without a central system, there's still something there. Multidimensional, of course. Quantum, a little. Go find it. Beautiful. You deserve the truth, old soul. And so it is. Hello, I'm Lee Carroll.
Right, well,
what's next?
Let's move into a channel.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. So I want to invite you all to join me for a very brief meditation. In fact, rather than a meditation, let's just call it a pause from our daily routine to take some time and focus into the core of our being. Focus into the stillness that is always present within us. Our natural state of being is a place of peace, harmony, and balance. And sometimes all it takes is to just close our eyes and attune to the resonance of our core. And now that we are all in this sacred space, joined together, let us receive the beautiful messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, I will say that Spirit, God, the creative source, whatever you wish to say, is not in some kind of a closet. And what I mean by that is that which you call God is everywhere all the time, knowing who you are, what you're doing, how you're feeling. A loving, beautiful, knowing God. Some know this and teach it, others do not, but I wanted you to know the truth. That is how it is. I am on the other side of this veil, having never been human. And I will tell you what the perspective is from here. Is that all eyes, if you wish to use the word eyes, all perceptions are on the magnificence of the souls on this beautiful planet. Now, what does that mean to you? It means that there is help there. More than that. There's revelation. There's discovery. Human beings are starting to move into a new kind of energy. And we have said this many times. Now, this particular program, the one that I've told my partner to do, the one you're listening to right now, has something that you do in the program, in the meditation. That something is to move over a bridge that is from the known to the unknown into a multi-dimensional place. And that place, if you wish to call it that, is your soul. Now, we're going to do that in just a little bit. But this is a chance for me to work with instructions, teaching. Some of this will be confusing, but I'm using these channels as a platform to help you understand what's going on, perhaps, later in this program, when you actually can cross over to something that most of you don't even know you can. Part of the human development, maturity, I would say evolution of where you are going in consciousness starts to now include a multidimensional perspective. This is what's going on the planet. That's why many of these things are happening to you that start to clean up integrity. You're having a higher consciousness awareness. When humanity starts to have this collectively over generations, you can look backwards and you can see the things that were done or what you're working with now and say, we were like children in consciousness then. We are far more mature now. This is going to happen. It's happened to all of those who have gone through this. So I want to explain just a little bit because you're so linear. So linear. Things are either this way or that way. There's black, there's white, there's on or it's off. There's very little understanding of anything else but linearity. This is how you think. When you look at organization charts, that's linear. You have the top down, you have the construction, you have the hierarchy, all these things. None of that exists across the veil where I am. It's so interesting how you think. You have a hard time thinking that something could be in two places at once. This is actually funny to us because that is all we are. On the other side of the veil, my side, that is the reality of it. You have multidimensional things in physics which can be in two places at once, but you never think you could be. And yet this is where it's going. I want to talk about something that is so remarkable and so beautiful that almost none of you understand. Because you think in this linear fashion, let's talk about just one thing, but the thing that perhaps is the most important to these meetings. What is your soul? What is it like? Some will say it is the spiritual vehicle that carries all that you are. This soul of yours, we've told you, is not a place. You can't go there, and yet we do in these programs. We cross a bridge of linearity in this program, and you go to a place because that's all you have. That's the only word you have that says, I go from one section to another. But you don't really go to a place. You go everywhere when you cross that bridge. Because that soul of yours is everywhere. Multidimensionality is that way. And you say, I don't believe that. That's just tough for me. We can't do that. It's interesting. You have no problem thinking about God being everywhere. or listening to a billion prayers at once and dealing with multiple healings and all of that. But when it comes to you, you can't. Even though you are a creation of that same God. Your soul, dear ones, is part of the creative source. Therefore, when you start working with your soul, you have to understand it's very big, bigger than any of you ever thought. I want to talk about one of the most confusing things we have ever said about your soul. And we call it soul sharing. And right away, there's objections. And they're big. Your concept of your soul is a precious vehicle of your energy. How could you share it with anyone? Because suddenly it's not your energy anymore. But that is a linear thinking process. You're not understanding how you can remain you and still share with another soul. You don't have that perception. And that's not even correct. Your sacredness is always your sacredness. It doesn't diminish because it's shared. Many things on this planet you can scratch your head about, and one of them we've discussed before, the multidimensional aspect of the DNA of twins. On one side of the earth, a twin will have something happen. On the other side of the earth, the other twin will sense it. Now, here you are with distance not mattering, a little bit of entanglement, if you wish, in DNA, a quantum effect, telling you that your DNA as a human being really does have multidimensionality. But it's strange, is it not? But it starts to show you that your soul is probably capable of a lot more than you think. Question: do twins share one soul? Answer: no. They're completely and total individual consciousness, but they share a DNA. Very similar. And so you get into the proposition that maybe there's more here than you think, or that you understand. Soul sharing. Let's talk about a metaphor in 3D, 4D, that you would understand. Let us say your soul is out there. You can picture it any way you wish. Let's say it's a bubble. And let's say that that bubble contains majesty of you, all that is of you, all of the lifetimes you've ever had anywhere, forever. The soul, as we've described to you before, is eternal in both directions. That means it never was created and it never will end. Do you recognize that statement? That's a statement you apply to the creative source, to God, to Spirit. All it is. No beginning, no end. That's your soul as well. So in that soul, you might imagine there's everything that ever was, but the consciousness of you is always you, no matter what the face is, no matter how long you've been here. That's you. That's the majesty. That's the precious. And there you are, out, I'll say, in this little bubble. So along comes another soul. And that soul says, wow, I'd really love to share this journey with you. And you'd say, come on in. Now there is a bigger bubble. Now, you haven't taken two souls and put them together to make some strange soul of both of you. You're simply two bubbles in a bigger one. Do you see that in a linear fashion? Now you are starting to understand soul sharing. That bigger bubble may appear to be one thing, but it has both of you riding in it, like a car. Along comes others who say, you know, I would like to share this journey. And you say, come on in. Now you've got a bubble with many seats for many bubbles. Soul sharing is like this. Now, why do I say these things? You have to understand that when you cross into that place and through the mist a little later, and I invite you to go into your temple, and suddenly you find others there. Some have asked, how can those others be in my soul? I just told you. Soul sharing is like this because In that place, if you want to call it that, on the other side of the veil, there is no singularity. All souls are riding in one bubble. All souls are independent, and yet they share. The one that's most profound, are you ready? We have told you before. You have a soul-sharing agreement with your family here on earth. When you leave this place called earth, you think you just go off in someplace else. Perhaps some of you believe in reincarnation and you say, well, I'm getting ready for the next life and all that someday. Well, yes, you are reborn and here you are. Part of you comes back, but part of you stays with your loved ones. Soul sharing. For those of you who've lost your mother, your father, your uncles, your grandmothers, fathers, aunts, they're still here because they have an agreement with your lineage. They will be with you till the end. You have an agreement with your children. You will be with them till their end. It's called soul sharing, and almost none of you are using it. Profound it is because you have access to the ancients through it. You have access to them through it. You have access to the love of those you've loved and lost in a different way. Let me ask those of you who have recently lost loved ones, don't you feel them? Isn't that part of the sorrow? Not just that they're missing, but at some level, you know they're still there. Don't you wish they could talk to you? They can. In a multidimensional way through love and compassion and remembrance. It doesn't have to be writing on the wall or a seance. Forget that part. Why not have the maturity and the evolution to start having those kinds of feelings and conversations with those who have shared your soul and love? They're riding in a big bubble with you. Soul sharing. It is so profoundly not being understood or used on this planet that you go into sorrow and grief, some even suffering, because you think you've lost the leadership or the wisdom or that. You know you have not. Not really. There is so much more. I will continue talking about it. It's too important not to. I am Kryon, in love with all of you. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. I come in quickly because there is no preparation needed. The fact is that God is inside every single human being to the fullest degree that the human will allow it. If the human agrees that the door can always be open, this is the finest thing that we want to hear. Instead of compartmentalizing your meditations, your prayer time, or your channeling, it's always there, it's always available. And so it's not just a church experience, it's not a reporting on Sunday experience, it's a 24/7, it's a 24/7. And even as you sleep, there is a blessing of your dreams. And when you awake in the morning, you feel it and you know. There is no switch to be turned by a human being that wants to honor God. The channeling this evening is what I told you it would be. It's a personal one. In review, we have been telling you for weeks, if not longer, of the things happening on the planet, of the energies. We've told you about the future. We've been telling you about the energies that are coming in the next 3 years. We have been discussing things which are multidimensional and some things which are confusing. We're talking about the human soul and the attributes to come and what it means and where you are in history and what year you are in the progression of evolution. And yet, when we would gather with a group of human beings and we would say, "And now what are your questions?" They would say, "What do I do next? How does it work with me now? As a person who has to live in my society and fit into a box, the way I earn my living, what I do around others, my children, my families, I'm not able to be a monk and just walk away. What is it I can do as an old soul for this planet?" And I'm going to address it. There are several attributes that I want to give you, and they are almost equal in the number. It's not about actions. It's about your consciousness and how you perceive all of this. The first thing I want you to do is to relax and know that you belong here. This is going to be belief, and we have talked about this before. You really want to know what to do? Every single one. I want you to relax and know you belong here. There are some who would equate your importance with your deeds. And you'd say, "Well, I haven't done this and I haven't done that, I haven't gone here." Some of you have said, "Well, this person has written many books, I've not done anything." I want you to relax. And I want you to know this. From me to you, dear ones, in all love, I want to tell you, your being here is enough. Do you know what this means to the planet? To have a human dynamo, a generator of light, living here. With the experience that you've had, old soul, where you've been there and you've done that and you've solved the problems and you've had thousands of lifetimes in both genders, and here you are walking around asking me what to do. You've done it. Your very existence is light for the planet. Now I'm going to give you some attributes to make that light shine in a time when we need it. Because this is your time. But don't you ever ask what you should do, because you've done it. I couldn't be stronger in the love that it takes to give you this. No matter what your age, young person, senior, it doesn't matter. The light is multidimensional. It'll carry over the gap of death. Some of you will plant things just by being here, which will remain on this planet forever, because consciousness stays. The things you do and say are remembered by humans, sometimes humans that are small. And you will change their lives just by what you say and how you act and what you do. Sometimes there will be a person riding along with you, watching how you react to somebody else on the freeway, perhaps, who is not as kind. And they'll never forget your reaction of compassion instead of anger. They may even mold themselves after you, and you'll never know it. You are influential because of who you are. You're experienced. And it shows. Experienced. What the experience often does is taint you. And you know it does. You expect more from people. Because you've been here so often and done so many things, and you hit a situation where there's uncaring or inefficiency. And you are then one who would say, "It didn't work for me." You expected more. I know this, old soul. And these are the things you're going to begin to shift. So it's not about what to do next. It's about how to be. And so we're going to give you a little list here. It's a personal list. We always get... we always give you the things that you need to hear for the audience who is listening and is here. I know who you are. We always do. It drives the channels, if you didn't know that. You need to hear it. In the room are giants of old souls. Giants. How many of you remember the shamanic energy that you used to have? Some of you are beginning to pick it up again, and you feel it so profoundly, you're even dressing like it. Honored for it, all of it. You are beginning to awaken to God inside. And it has so many forms, for there are so many civilizations that you've been through. And there is no beginning of judgment about how you process this. Dear ones, God inside is unique. Unique for every single one of you. You've been here so many times and done so much. I already gave you number one. Relax and know that you're here on purpose. And being here is enough. Number two, I want you to start understanding and believing what we're telling you about these times. Because there are so many going into fear right now for what is happening on the planet. Now, this we have told you before, but this is personal because I know who's here. It's going to be frightening to some of you to see what is happening on the planet, for it hurts your heart. There's a tendency to check out, and what I mean by that is not death, but to simply turn your back and say, I've done my part, I'm done doing my part. It's getting a little harder. And I'll tell you what, this is why you came, warrior. This is why you're here. I don't want you to have to watch it on television. I don't want you to even have to know about it. I want you instead to not fear it. The fear will shut you down. For it is going to be chased away eventually by you. Holding light at home, at work, at play, and practicing compassionate action on this planet. Do not despair. That is primary. We told you that. Here is the third one. I'm going to call it acceptance of a quality that has not been here before. This is new to you. This energy is creating benevolence in all aspects of your life. Your consciousness and the change of it and your belief of it and your acceptance of it triggers things that have not been here before. There are energies now on the planet being flooded with light. There are actually entities and beings coming here by the tens of thousands that you have no description for. There is nothing that we've ever told you about it, that are flying here at light speed, you might say, for your benefit, but it isn't, to change who you are. You've got help. You've got help. You walk outside and you step on the earth. The earth is different because you're an old soul. Your free choice has given you an advantage for the first time of awareness of a new energy that is occurring. And this legion of light beings is going to start helping you in all things. Now, I haven't really put it that way before, but that's the way of it. And that's the way it should feel. What do you think about the statement? Old soul, you have been pushing the mountain forever. It's been tough and hard, and every time you were born, it was hard. You were up against an old energy. And if you were brave enough to ever raise your hand and say what you felt about God inside, or even worse, have shamanic energy, it was not a pretty sight. Cast away, some of you. Exorcised, some of you. Isolated, some of you. Killed, some of you. And here's what I want to tell you. There is more acceptance today from the general civilization of your shamanic energy and your compassionate spirit than in any time in human history. They're waiting for you. They're waiting for you. And the help is here. Believe in the benevolent source that is going to help you to your next step. You've never had it before. Start pushing on the doors that you think have been closed forever about where you might go and what you might do or what others might think of you. And you're going to find new acceptance. Don't be surprised whether your light is seen differently than it ever was before. Here's another one. Now we get into action. Dear ones, do not isolate yourselves from the rest of the world. This is what you've been doing because you had to for survival. In order to believe what you believe, you collect in groups because you know the others are not going to be with you. Dear ones, when your neighbor sees you coming and they cross the street to avoid you, you know something is up. Huh? You've isolated yourself through your belief or your actions. And that's got to change. And it's not going to change by anything except that which is your personality becoming softer. Less critical, more loving, more benevolent. Some of this is difficult because it is not what you have been in the past. But I want to tell you, as soon as you start looking at things differently and you say to your cellular structure, your Merkaba, to the God inside, I am changing. I am more compassionate. I am more aware. I am that I am. It all lights up. It all lights up. And you walk around no longer in the dark because those who need to see your light will be attracted to you. And the entities that I've talked about and all of those who are flying to earth to help will then be attracted to this consciousness, and you're going to be lifted and it's going to be easier. We told you a while back at Christmas time, do the hardest thing you can ever do. Go back and be with the relatives and be peaceful with it. Because some of them know what you represent. That you perhaps left the fold, or you left the religion, or you left the belief system. They sometimes see you as odd and strange. That is changeable with compassion. Because the action that you have, which is compassionate, is what they will see. Don't tell them about Kryon. Don't tell them about Pleiadians. Don't tell them anything. Show them love. Your compassion will do more for this planet than any other single thing. It's the light source. It is not your job, dear ones, to take a human being and convince them you're right. It is not your job to make them come to a meeting like this. It is not your job to do anything but to love humanity in a way that is so attractive they'll want to be next to you. And when they are someday, and they look at you and they ask, what have you got that I don't have? Then you can tell them, you got God inside. without a doctrine perhaps, without a building perhaps, and to listen. This is the army of light that is going to win this world. And we've told you before, it's not what you think. Because the actual truth is that consciousness is over physics and is always able to change it. You just don't know it yet. And that your compassion will be seen as a driving force of this planet. If you're a healer, congratulations, we need you. If you're a reader or a healer, channeler, author, it was that which came about because it needed to be, and you came in with the tools for it. Congratulations. And if you're not, I want to tell you that compassion is the king. You're going to do more with your compassion than any channeler or healer. Don't isolate yourself. I want you to start practicing affirmations. It's time that you understood sound, consciousness, color, all of these things have energies. My partner has talked about the numerology, all of these things. Affirmations is your consciousness with your voice speaking to your reality and your cells, saying the things you want them to hear. And you do it in the first person, I am. I know who's here. Perhaps you should wake up in the morning and say, I am healed. I am getting a good night's sleep. I am pleased and celebrate this day. Could you say that every morning? I am pleased, meaning that you are happy with your existence. And you're celebrating the day. Affirmations, develop them, first person, positive. And start saying them to yourself, out loud. Kryon, do I really have to say them out loud? It's better if you do. Your ears will hear it. Your ears hear it, and it's a different reality. It's a 3D reality. It's what you're used to. Let your ears hear who you are. And in your cellular structure, there is data that has its antennas out, just ready to hear from the boss. Who are you? I am healed. I am benevolent. I am compassionate. I am happy in my existence. It is well with my soul. That's powerful. And everything you do along this line will collect light. You will start to change faster than you've ever changed before. Expect healing and change in your life that is faster than ever before. Let the proof of my words tonight be in how fast this occurs. And you'll know there's a benevolent energy that's attaching itself to you. It's so good. God is going to get bigger for you. Light worker. Army of the light. Last one. This is tough. It's out of your culture. It's out of your civilization. It's not in your tradition. I know who's here. I want you to try something for me. See how it feels. I want you to start honoring your ancestors. Now, I know who's here. And you're saying, I don't know who they are. It's a different world today than it was for the indigenous, where they lived in one spot and could track back their lineage for generations. I'm not talking about your grandfather. I want you to be abstract. Your ancestors are your spiritual family, and some of them are you in past lives. I want you to honor the process of ancestry. Reincarnation begets family, who then becomes reincarnated. Some of them are your ancestors. You don't know their names. You cannot picture them. You don't even have photos. But the concept is to honor those who came before you, some of whom are you, and do it every day. The reason I mention this is because it's a return to the old traditions. It's honored by God. It is a way that your free choice is saying, I understand the system, it's beautiful, it's benevolent, and I honor it. It couldn't be clearer. And we haven't heard that from you in this society in hundreds of years. In the morning, someplace where you cannot be heard. Thank you, ancestors, for bringing me here now at this time. It's personal, and these are the points that I wanted to tell you today. It's not about the energy of the future. It's not about grandiose things. It's about you today. Don't leave don't leave the same. Leave different than you came. Think about these things. Be aware of these things. If you work with this, dear old soul, you will have results. I promise. If you have pure intent to make it work, you're going to see results. It's time to stop the worry and the drama. Stay away from what I will call voluntarily negative attributes. This is negativity that you voluntarily participate in, and you may not even be aware of it. Does what is on your television offend your heart? Then turn it off. If you need to know what's happening in the world, get a magazine. Use the internet. You can go at your own pace and see what you need to see, not what others think you need to see. If you're in a room and they wish to gossip, don't participate. Leave if you can. Be compassionate instead of criticizing. Do not participate in the negativity. It'll shut it down, dear ones. Watch it happen. When you don't participate in the circle that is moving and spinning, it stops. These are the things that every day you can do as a light worker. There's more. So many things that I could give you on a day-by-day basis that I know that you can literally walk away from if you wish. Drama. When you walk into a drama, walk out. If you see it developing, stop it by compassionate action. Do not defend yourself. It doesn't help. Be compassionate. If someone calls you names, that's their problem, not yours. Be compassionate with their having a bad day. Dear ones, there are ways where you can change who you are, and they will notice. They won't say it, but they'll see you as a little more mature than they are. And then don't be surprised if they decide to emulate it, because it's really attractive. Love is attractive. Light is attractive. Benevolence and beauty is attractive more than ever before. And the old soul knows more than anyone on the planet how to make it work. This is the message for you this evening, this day. Again, leave differently than you came. And so it is.
Let's spend some time getting into that timeless state of being in the now. And the easiest way to do that is to just quieten our mind for a moment. And I invite you to close your eyes And let any thoughts you have floating around in that beautiful brain of yours just dissolve away. We're just going to melt all of those thoughts, those things that we're thinking about, what we have to do in another hour, what we did last night, all of those thoughts, let's just bundle them up and let them slowly dissolve away and fade into the background. We can pick them up in a minute or two, but for now, we just want to have everything dissolve away, emptying out all our cares, all our worries, tuning in to this now moment. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to even think about. There's simply just this sensation of being in the now, being fully present within this moment. And so when you feel that you have come a little closer to being in that now moment, just have that attitude of relaxation and that softening of all the parts of your body so that we can now receive a message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. The channelings this month in these programs is about timing. So many questions, personally for you, the earth, especially of what is going on right now on the planet, the surprise of war. These things, dear ones, come about in cycles. But the one I want to talk about right now is that which is you. What is the cycle that we have given you over and over for 32 years to look forward to? We called it the precession of the equinoxes. The ancients actually identified it as a time of change. The Mayans called it a new creation cycle. Other indigenous had many other names, but they all said the same. Things would change. Opportunities for change would be there. They watched the stars. They saw the energy that it might create. They actually channeled the messages, and they were accurate. And it's so true. You are in the shift at the moment, and we have taught that for all of these years. More years than not, we told you it was coming, and now it's here. What is the timing of this in reference to you and your soul? Last week, we discussed something in the Circle of 12, and we had you standing ready to come here, and we called it the wind of birth. We also then described you in that area as heroes in the making. But the question remains, did you actually plan on being here at this moment? Is there some kind of Akashic timing that would help you to be here? The answer is this. It's more profound than you think. Now let's go back. We have given you a lot of information about you as an old soul. And if you have been reflective in this and have studied any of those messages for yourself, you might recall that old souls are those who have been in this school of earth many, many times. Your Akashic record would read that you have had lots and lots of lifetimes, especially on a planet where through centuries the lifespan was very short. So you might imagine, if you've been here since the beginning, how many thousands of lives you've lived. But you don't have to have been here from the beginning to be an old soul. You just have to have an experience on the planet which is lengthy, perhaps even several hundred years to have been here over and over. And what happens each time is that this Akashic record of yours collects wisdom. It collects the been there kind of energy where you wake in the next lifetime, often in the same culture, and you have a more comfortable lifetime because of it, because you know a little more of what to expect. Many times you can see things coming. You can make adjustments because of it. Or you'll have that deja vu experience, been here, done that, I'm not going to do that before, and make adjustments. So what I am saying to you is that the timing often of things that happen to you on this planet, your planning, is wiser than those who are not old souls. Where are you going with this, Kryon? I'm telling you that the more lifetimes you've had on this planet, the more you are aware of the planet, of what is here, of how to work with it, of the potentials. You have what we call slogged through old energy for centuries. There's very little light on this planet, dear ones. There are light pockets, and we've talked about that, but suddenly it's different. This is the shift. It's the one that the ancients talked about. It's the one that we talk about, where the actual quantum field that is around you is being rewritten, rejuvenated, renewed, where the planet is moving into new areas, where the magnetic grid has shifted to allow for higher consciousness energy to be here. And old souls are the key. The more old souls who are on the planet at this time, the better chance you have of pulling yourselves up by the bootstraps and sending light to the earth. Now, take that premise for a moment. We need you, old soul. Let's say that you have started a lifetime, and maybe it was only 30 or 40 years ago. And that lifetime came to a quick end, and you only made it to perhaps 25, 26 years old, and then you passed. There would be those around you. They would say, how could that be? They were on a trip that was enlightened. We could tell that they were very wise. How could their lives be shortened so much when they had so much to do? Now get ready. What if that was in the plan? Your plan. So that you could have one more short lifetime and come back and grow up so you'd be an adult for the shift. And the reason is because we need you at a certain age. And that certain age will mean so that you can teach others better. So you be seen by society in a certain age group and do a better job with what you are here for. I just gave you something to really think about. Reasoning behind early death, where we need the old soul, or you see it as a need for you to terminate the current lifetime, come back fresh, young, filled with the energy that you need to save this planet and send it light that you would not have had you not passed. Did you get that? Timing. Here's the statement today about timing. You are here on purpose now. You planned it at the age you are, doing what you're doing. This has all been in what we would call the plan that you set here. And the plan isn't for your life. The plan was for your lives. On the other side of the veil, you have the mind of God. You can see the wisdom. You can even understand and weigh the grief of others when you passed early against what you might do when you return. The lights that you might carry, that you didn't carry or had a hard time carrying when you were here in the last lifetime that terminated early, you would pick up completely with the wisdom and make a far grander impact right now on this planet during this shift than you could otherwise. Let me tell you something to think about and ponder. Many of you have done that. Many of you. So that you would arrive at the right time, at the right place, in the right culture, to be here right now, to send compassion and light to this planet so that it will do things it never would have done in the old energy, and you're seeing some of them. The reactions, perhaps, to the dark energy that shows its head right now, shows itself right now. What's the world's reaction to what's going on right this moment? Have you ever seen anything like that before? And the answer is no. Do you think that the darker energies are surprised? And the answer is yes. But they will struggle and fight and push against the light for a very long time. Your light will win. And we've told you this. You've already seen a piece of this happen. We've also told you 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But here it is, so you can see what happens when the darkness starts to push against something it never expected. A time when the earth would not be dark. A time when light would start to occur, and wisdom, compassion, and kindness would start to be part of a love agenda, I'll call it, that this planet is bound for, is awakening to. Timing? You are not here by accident. And if you think you are, I want you to give it a second thought. You're here by design, and you're not here to suffer. You're here to be healthy, and that is why I ask for this program to exist and continue existing, so that you will be able to hear so many human beings that are invested in you and your health, to helping you, to healing you. So many different methods, so many different ways, because there are so many of you who have different methods and different ways and different minds. You're not here by accident. You planned this. So, old soul, if you are in my hearing range right now, I'll tell you this. Go do what you do. But understand that you have an entourage behind you who wants to lift you up and take you to a place where your light will shine and show. Don't let things get to you to beat you up emotionally or spiritually because you see some darkness or don't understand something. You're here to thwart it, to change it, to convert it to light. It's not an easy job. That's why they call it the light worker. That's why you're here. But if I ask you to get going on it, in all love, understand you are dearly loved, each one of you, here on purpose for the salvation of the consciousness of this planet. And so it is.